Okay, awesome. So, as Rohit was mentioning, this will be a 5 session series on enterprise security because ES is something we don't want to cover within an hour or two. We actually want to go through each and every framework one after other in detail and with some live demo as well, so that if any one of us have to configure for some customer or for your own day-to-day job profile, you can do that as well. So I am Meet. I am working right now as an industry consulting manager for entity data. I've been doing Splunk, as I was mentioning, since last 6+ years, and have helped a bunch of customers from implementing ES from base or from scratch to upgrades or setting up the correlation searches or RPA and so on. So, all right. The main objective for today's sessions are we'll just go through and discuss what Splunk Enterprise Security is, how different customers are using it, why it is there as one of the premium products of Splunk on top of Splunk Core, why we need it at all. Then we'll go through the ES frameworks, followed by data model and SIM, which is common information model. Some best practices from the three topics that we'll discuss, and we'll just go through next step as well for the next sessions. And the major topic that I and Rohit wanted to cover was the basics of the ES frameworks, 5 frameworks, and in the follow-up sessions, we'll go through one or two frameworks in detail with demo or the practical examples. Awesome. Introduction to enterprise security. What is ES and why do organizations need ES? So, per the definition from the docs or from the internet, it's a premium security solution built on Splunk's data platform that provides advanced security analytics, threat detection, and incident response capabilities for security operations teams. So, what happens usually is that we have events coming from a bunch of different products. It can be something, let's say, from the EDR or DLP tools. You may have your firewall events coming in. You have your Active Directory events also coming in. And if we are going to make a schedule search on top of each of the product, the approach might not be that scalable. So that's where the ES comes, and that's where the frameworks of the enterprise security comes, where all you have to do is just to make sure that your data is in that format. We majorly call it as a SIM compliant based on the data models, and based on the same, there are predefined correlation searches or threat detection rules that are already running if you're installing the enterprise security. So the major reason why this is there as a separate product or separate app on top of Splunk Enterprise is that you don't have to do all of the work manually. And Splunk also, of course, do not want their thousands of customers to write individual searches or configure XYZ things again and again each and every time. So that's where ES is packed with predefined dashboards, predefined lookups, and all other knowledge objects, which you can utilize out of the box. Next, why do organizations need ES? So majorly, it's as the definition says, it's a SIEM product, which is for your centralized security monitoring, detect and response to the threat effectively. So there is one of the module called threat intelligence, where you can get the threat feeds or the IOCs from the internet, and not just from one or two sources. You can have as many IOCs as you want. It can be even open source or some proprietary, and you can even match that with your real time data through ES. So you don't have to build some schedule search and manage it on your own. Organizations can just plug and play and use it from the very next day. So Organizations use ES to centralize their security monitoring, detect and respond to the threat effectively, and ensure the compliance with the regulatory standards. And of course, at the end, if you're doing all of this, your security posture is strengthened. It's a widely used for SOC operations, majorly where you have notables coming in. Now, what is notable or what is incident review dashboard also is something we'll go in the later part of the sessions. But more often than not, when you say a word ES, most people will have one dashboard in their mind, and that would be incident review, where all of the alerts based on its severity would come at a single place, and that's where its USP is, I would say. SOC operations is one real-time threat detections, threat hunting, and the incident response, along with compliance reporting. So if you have, let's say, some compliance you're following, be it, let's say, uh, GDPR compliance, or if it is some PII data which you are ingesting, and if you are following a PCI compliance, ES can help on top of that as well. And Splunk Core and Splunk ES, when I was preparing for the deck, I initially mentioned Splunk Core versus ES, but then I realized that it's not versus, it's on top of that, right? So it's not two separate product or so, but you need enterprise, and then you can have ES on top of that. So Splunk Core is the foundational platform, of course, for the data ingestion or the searches, where ES extends Core's capability as any other app or add-on to. ES extends the capabilities with specialized features or inbuilt dashboards or the correlation searches and all. All right. The main topic that we wanted to discuss today is the frameworks. So enterprise security has 5 frameworks: assets and identity, notable, threat intelligence, adaptive response action, and risk analysis. And we'll go through each in detail. And I have prepared a small demo as well that will go for each of the framework. Starting with the first one, assets and identity. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, just feel free to raise your hand, type that in a chat, or just unmute yourself if you feel that the question should be answered right away. Or even if you want to, it's a community session, so of course it's not something I'm only presenting and you're listening. If you feel that, hey, this is something I have done in a different way, feel free to unmute yourself and speak up as well. Awesome. Starting with the very first, assets and identity. What it does, it helps us with enriching the events with the contextual information, like the asset importance or the user roles for better security insights. What happens is that you may have thousands and thousands of users in your organization, and each of the data set or each of the log type would have different set of fields coming in. What you want to do is you want to combine all the assets and identity related information and have it available at a single place. Let me give you an example. So you have Windows events coming in, where you would have the information like the host name, the owner of the user or who is using that asset. And on the other hand, you may have some other log source where the host name and the IP address information is present. Or you may have your CMDB, where the host name and the latitude longitude information is present, where you want to understand that where this virtual machine actually resides, or where this laptop, which business unit it belongs to. So you may have multiple log sources which have the asset information. So when I say asset, of course it can be like your firewall devices, it can be your mouse, or it can be your laptop as well. It's not just laptop in layman term. It can be anything, any of the assets from your organization. And when we say identity, that means that not just the user or the actual human user, but it can be some service accounts or so that you have set up or is available in the Active Directory. So the assets and identity framework eventually helps you map all of the information from different log sources in a single lookup. At the end of the day, of course, those are the lookups which you can manage through different save search or the reports. And how it can help in the notable events is something we'll go through in detail. Next is the notable framework, which helps us centralizing and prioritizing the security events and enabling efficient incident triage and response. So you may have, let's say, 100 or 150 use cases running in your environment, and each of the use case is running every second minute or every fifth minute, and it may even generate, let's say, 10 or 15 notable events. So as simple as, let's say, multiple failed login attempts, or someone trying to get a root access of any virtual machines. You can have separate set of use cases in your environment. What Notable framework helps is you would want to prioritize the severity, or you want to prioritize the incident response for each and every notable in a different way. So you can have, let's say, L1, L2, L3 SOC teams, and if there are 100 incidents within 30 minutes, how do you prioritize that? Because a team of 10 or 15 cannot go through all of the 100 events at all, and it may happen that it is related to a single incident, but you still have 100 notable events, or it might be different different scenario, different security scenario altogether. So how do you prioritize your notables in such a way that the ones that you really want to look first are assigned with the critical or high priority, and something which can be like informative, or something which can be deprioritized are the ones you can take it later on. So the notable framework at the end helps in deciding or prioritizing your security incidents from your environment, which are being created. The notables being created from multiple use cases. So that's on the notable. Threat intelligence, it ingests and normalizes the threat data from external sources to enhance the correlation and the detection capabilities. So again, let's say IP related information you have been ingested from your TLP events, or from your firewall events, or something from the CrowdStrike as well being ingested in Splunk. Now what you want to do is you want to understand that the 10,000 users that I have in my organization, and whatever they are browsing from their laptop, are they trying to browse anything which is suspicious, or if the IP address is suspicious or not. So what you do is, on one hand, you map your events with the data model, and on the other hand, you have your different set of IOCs being ingested on a real time or on a schedule basis from the internet. And what ES helps you is, on a real time basis, it will match those. So as soon as someone clicks on some malicious link, or if there is inward or outward traffic going on your critical server, you can have the notable triggered as soon as possible, and pretty much real time. So that's the threat intelligence framework we'll go through. Maybe this would make more sense once I go through in detail over here, and once I show you the ES altogether from the UI. But let me just go through the overview of the frameworks, and we'll go through each in detail. The fourth one is risk analysis, where it helps in aggregating the risk scores from multiple sources to provide a unified RBA, or risk-based alerting. So it may happen that you again have, let's say, 100 use cases, and some of the events are correlated. But if you're just raising the notable event, it may not make sense. So let's say out of 100 incidents that we got, there would be 3 or 4 just for a single asset, or there can be 5, 6 notable for a single user only. And there is actually something suspicious going on for that user or for that asset. So the traditional way, when I say traditional way, it's the just the notable way, raising a notable may not work. You need something on top of your notable framework as well, which is the risk analysis framework. which helps you to score each and every suspicious event based on the asset or the user. And what you do at the end is you sum up all the score and trigger a notable or an incident based on the cumulative risk score for the object. Next is the adaptive response. So if there are some actions that we want to take in our environment, which is out of the scope of Splunk, let's say you want to run some script which blocks the IP address in your environment as soon as threat intelligence detects something, or a script who can disable a user if there are two or three or five notables, critical notables being raised for a specific user, and you want to disable that user. Or it can be as simple as you want to raise a service now ticket based on the incident. So let's say you may have again, I'll just stick with the same example. You can have 100 incidents, but you feel that this too may require deep investigation, and we may even need to involve some other teams as well to investigate this. It can be some operations team, it can be network team who do not have access to Splunk, and you want to create a service now ticket for the same. So adaptive response framework helps us to enable some automated or manual actions in response to such security events or threats. Uh, any questions so far from anyone? Okay, I would take that as a no. All right, let's go deeper into each and every framework. First, assets and identity. It helps enrich the events with extra details. So your firewall event may say that there was some suspicious activity, or your IDS or IPS tool may say that hey, for this one there was some attack in place. But you need extra information, right? You may have thousands of IP address, and you need extra information about this IP address. So the framework, the ANI frameworks help you with enriching the information and saying that, hey, this IP address belongs to the CFO laptop. So, or this IP address is residing right now over here, or this is very critical server because it has, let's say, your AD or some other server residing or some application residing in that server. So this framework helps in identifying additional information based on what you already have. It can be host name, it can be IP address. uh, it can also help in the notable event. So let's say if there is a notable event for a test machine versus your critical server, the assets and identity framework helps to prioritize those notables as well. And okay, let me just go to ES and go straight forward into the configuration. All right. This is the Splunk instance where I have gone under enterprise security. I have version available right now as 7.3. I know 8.0 is out, but even still, multiple customers are still on 7.3. So we decided to go with this version only. And by the way, there have been breakthrough changes. If you say 7.3 versus 8.0, it can be based on the terminology, or it can be the configuration options itself. 8.0 does have a lot of changes, but since most of the customers are still on 7.3, we decided to go with that one. All right, so we'll go through configure option, data enrichment, and assets and identity. By default, it comes or it is packed with two lookup, one being demo assets and one being static assets. So if you install ES fresh, both of the lookups be there out of the box. What we have to do over here to configure this is you first have to decide what all log sources does have the asset related information available. So it can be your CMDB log source, it can be your AD server where you have a bunch of computer details available over there, or it can be your AWS instance as well, AWS Azure instances as well, that you want to consider as an asset, because at the end those are the assets for you, right? So what we have to do is we first have to identify the log sources from which we will configure the assets and identity management. Then you have to literally open up the asset and identity lookup documentation over here in Splunk, where you can see what are the predefined, you can see over here assets and identity fields individually you will be able to see, and we have to map each and every field that is possible with our log source. So let's say example that I was mentioning about Windows events, you may just have the host details, that is nt underscore host information, and the owner information. That's it. If you just have two fields from your log source, that's fine. You run a schedule search which populates this Windows lookup periodically, and you have that lookup available over here from the new. Now, how do we configure a lookup also? We'll go deeper into later part of the sessions where we'll discuss SSL identity in detail. But all we have to do is from individual log sources, we need to have lookups available over here. So again, your Windows may have hosts and the owner information, but your CMDB information may have NT underscore host and the IP address or DNS or the city information as well. What ES will do is it will help you merging both of the rows of individual lookups into single. What it means is later on, if you see in some of the, let's say if you're uh, working on an incident where you only have IP information available, by default, ES will enrich that IP address information based on all of this lookup, and it will create an additional field about owner or about a city in order for you to understand. So all you have to do is just configure the schedule searches, which will have events or the rows available in the lookup, and have those lookups managed over here. So how it looks like is we'll just consider the demo asset lookup right now, and this can be IP address, MAC, DNS, owner, and so on, other information available. And there is a key field called priority from the assets and identity lookups. So the priority is there in both. So if you see over here, priority is available over here as well as in the identity lookup. You will see that over here. An example where I mentioned that a test machine versus a critical servers incident from both are would have different severity. Your SOC team actually wants to go through the incident which is for the critical server and not from the test machine, right? Or let's say a director or executive's laptop being compromised versus an employee or some contractor's laptop is being compromised versus someone from the IT or the SOC team's laptop is compromised. All three incidents, though of the same behavior from the same use case, may have different severity or a different urgency, I would say, in terms of notable. So this priority field actually helps you in deciding the end urgency for your notable event. So okay, this is there. Image assets and identity. Okay, I'll go through this as well as I'm not able to click. I don't know how. Okay, sounds good. So here you would see whatever fields we saw over here. You can see the detailed information or what it denotes in this documentation. So DNS, if you have multiple events, you can have it segregated by pipe over here, and what field denotes is something you can see from the documentation. And about the priority field, I'll explain you with an table how urgency is assigned in Splunk. Yes. Okay. So this is also from one of the doc link, where you would see there are severity versus priority. So there are two things when we talk about notable. There are multiple assets involved in the incident. CEO's laptop versus detector laptop versus contractor's laptop. So each can have its own priority, and your use case itself would have its severity. So let's say someone trying to get into root access, or someone trying to access some privileged file versus multiple failed login. These two use case can have different severity altogether. How ES will assign the urgency to the end is based on this table. So let's say you have assigned the priority of CO as critical, and the use case severity itself is also high. At the end, the notable that it generates, or the incident that ES will generate, will have critical as the priority. But for the same use case, you have contractor's laptop involved where the priority is low. It will create incident for that as well, but the end urgency would be medium. So the assets and identity framework, and specifically priority field of the lookup, helps tremendously in assigning the end urgency to the notable. I hope that that makes sense. Any questions? Feel free to unmute yourself and ask any question if there are. Okay. Now, how to configure the lookup, where we can see all of the assets and identity, is something we'll go into later part of the sessions. Okay, going next to, I'll share the deck as well with the community, so you can go through this. And this is from the dev.splunk.com only, where you can understand that you do some configurations over here. ES helps with normalizing the things, and it at the end it helps in the analysis part, where SOC analyst can correlate multiple IP address or owner details at the end from different dashboards. Next, we'll go through the notable, which collects and shows the important security events called notable events for the analyst to investigate. So I'll go through the incident review dashboard, which we can say is the heart of the ES. Okay. So somewhere, I'm pretty sure all of you would have seen a screenshot of the review dashboard, where there are different urgencies, or where there are different use cases or the alerts from different domains altogether. So this we can say, at the end of the day, where Splunk or enterprise security helps is with alerting, right? And in ES, this is where all of the alerts comes at the end of the day. So you can see how many in last 24 hours, how many alerts are there total, how many of them are critical versus high versus low, what is the current status of all. So your SOC team can analyze the alerts from here, update the status as well. Sorry, update the status from new to in progress to resolved or so. So if you're a soft lead, or if you're an executive, all you have to do is just come over this dashboard and understand how my security posture look like for last 24 hours. It will show you the owner as well. So if you have a team of 7 or 10, you can see how many notables or how many incidents are assigned to each. And in Trim, there are multiple domains, be it some access related use cases or something for the network or the threat. You can even see that how many incidents are there depending on different domain. And you will see some information or the additional information if you just click over here. So I can see there is a notable called user blah 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 has been sent an email from similar domain, Splunk t-shirt company.com. Now this email, whatever additional information is available for that email, will be popped up over here. If there is any risk score that has been assigned to that user, will also pop up over here. And if there are some predefined actions that ES already took or should be taken, both will be noted over here. So let's say you may want to define that as soon as this type of use cases or this type of alerts comes, you run this. So you want to send an email or you want to trigger some Python scripts or something, you can see what all adaptive response actions have already been triggered. And if you want to give an option to your analyst for them to create some service now ticket manually or check some who is information over the internet, you can have those adaptive response sections available from here as well. So this is the place where your SOC team would come and sometime if you're configuring or if you're looking over the enterprise security for a customer and you want to see how many events are there, which is the use case which is triggering most amount of data or false positive or raising a noise in the environment, this is where you would come to view the additional information for the same. Okay, so each notable has details like severity, category, time shown in the incident review dashboard. Let's say if there are multiple failed logins are detected for a single user, it creates a notable event for a potential brute force attack. And how it creates the incident is like this. This is notable. What next actions based on this notable would be someone will get assigned to review, some SOC analyst will get assigned, the status would be updated, and this status of course is configurable. In fact, who can update these statuses is also configurable, which we'll see in the later part when we go deep into the notable framework. But there can be a case where only SOC lead or a senior team member should only be able to change the status from close to in progress. Let's say you don't want all of your users to come back once the incident is closed. Only a specific group of people should be able to do that based on the role. That is also something you can define. So it's highly configurable or customizable, I would say. So yeah, and you'll see additional information like risk score, if there are any additional risk events, and for which risk object. When we say risk object, it can be based on the assets and the identity for which this notable has been triggered. So all of the meta information, I would say, or the information that that should be presented in order to start the investigation would be shown over here. And again, this additional fields or how this extractions works is something we'll go through later part. And if you want to, of course, share this, you may not want to copy paste this. All you can do is just copy the event ID, or you can create a short ID by clicking it over here and just copy that one, and you can share this, and the other guy who would have Splunk access can just come over this dashboard, search for that specific notable and view the additional information for the same. So that's on the notable. Considering the time, I'm not going into the diagram, but in the other sessions will of course go through. All right. Next is the threat intelligence. Let me go through that as well. So this is the configuration console for threat intelligence management, where there are predefined threat IOCs which are disabled, but you can enable if you want to configure something. But what this denotes is from the internet. Every day there would be bunch of IP address which would be flagged as malicious, or there would be multiple file hashes or the email hashes which would be available. So let's say if there is any new type of virus or the file that was detected, and if you have that hash information available, you can also onboard that information in the threat intelligence management. And in your organization or in your environment, if someone receives that file, and if someone downloads that file, and if you have, of course, that information available in Splunk through DLP tool, or something, you can literally match the hash of the files and trigger an incident stating that, hey, something which is flagged as a malicious in this source have been detected in our environment as well. So on one side, I typically explain this in two manner. One, on the left hand side, you have all of your sources, which would be the information available from the internet. Some open source like Alexa top 1 million or Cisco top 1 million sites are open source. All it does is from the S3 bucket, it will get this zip file, it will extract it in a predefined manner. Again, the threat intelligence are at the end, it's a lookup only. So it can be IP underscore intel or email intel or HTTP intel and so on. So just like we have assets and identity information available in the lookup, threat intelligence information is also in the lookup at the end. And if you want to monitor your custom IP addresses as well. So for example, you have one VPC where requests from a few set of IP addresses are only allowed, and you want to monitor those private IP addresses, let's say 10.0.0.1, that information will not be available over the internet, right? You'll never get some private IP information as threat IOCs over here. So what you can do is you can have that available as a custom lookup in your environment. And even if someone tries to get into or get some information out from the VPC, and if as soon as it interacts with that specific IP addresses, you'll get notable or an alert in place. So left side are your sources. It can be your custom sources, or it can be open source sources. And on the right side, which is the threat matching setting, are the data models. Uh, different data models with different fields. So let's say if you want to match the IP addresses from all of your sources, all you have to do is, let's say, be it Windows, Linux, your firewall events, or whatsoever, all you have to do is just configure your data model with SIM compliance, so that a specific set of fields which are there in the data model are available. So if you just make sure that you have, let's say, information available in the web data model, all you have to do is make sure that the dest field is being populated properly. If you're doing this, and as soon as you enable the your threat IOCs, you will get alerted if any of the IP address is matching with the IOCs. Now, this is something you can do on your own in your customized way as well. But how ES helps is defining this as a framework where you don't have to go through each and every data source. Let's say you have 20 different log sources which has IP address information coming in. You cannot have 20 different alerts in place. All you have to do is just map those logs with data model and enable the IOCs. That's it. Splunk will do rest of the job, and you can see the information available in the threat activity dashboard. Let me open that up, and I can show that to you. So from the security intelligence, you can see threat intelligence and threat activity, where you can see that say in last 24 hours, there were information from the okay, so from two active collections, I have some information from the email intel as well and IP intel as well being ingested. And let's say I'll give you a live example: threat activity details. At this time, this was the user which was detected from stream SMTP with this sources and this destination, uh, and it was flagged as malicious. So let's say this is flagged as malicious in one of the threat sources, somewhere over here, and those activity from that specific email was detected in your environment. Or let me give you an IP address example as well. So this is the IP address which was there as the source over here, and from Symantec IP security file which you are ingesting in the Splunk environment, activity from that was detected in the IP intel from the IP intel lookup. So this is what ES can do out of the box for you, and yeah, that's the threat intelligence framework. Next up is the risk analysis, where it finds the risk scores from multiple correlation searches to prioritize the threat. So, for example, a single failed login might be a low risk event for you, but a failed login plus some malware detection on the same host plus some unapproved USB usage on the same host, and that too, let's say within 15 minutes or 20 minutes. This can be a high risk alert. Now, what traditional notable framework can give you is three separate set of incidents for you. But where risk analysis framework helps is you can assign a risk score over here. So as soon as, let's say at 10 o'clock, if there was one use case with failed login attempt triggered, let's say more than 10 failed login attempts were detected, it can trigger a notable, as well as it can increase the risk score for that asset or for that user in this case. Since it's a failed login, it can increase the risk score for that user with 10 as the value. So at 10 o'clock, there was the risk score of 10 being added. After 5 minutes, there was one malware detected for the same asset. So you have a use case which looks over the malware detection. So you can increase the risk score by 5 or 10 again, let's say for example. And after 15 minutes, let's say 10, 20, there was some activity through unapproved USB usage. The port that you can monitor, and from the Windows events, you're getting that there was some activity from a USB device. So instead of having these three as a separate notable, or along with having these three as a separate notable, what you can do is based on this risk score, 10, 5, and 10, let's say for example. So the overall risk score is 25. You can have another schedule search running, and which is one of the out of the box search, risk threshold exceeded in last 24 hours. That is one of the correlation search which is there out of the box in ES. You can have another alert running which just looks over the risk score, and if there is score for a particular object can be an asset, let's say my laptop, or it can be a user as well, so let's say me altogether. If the risk score for an object is more than a threshold value, it gives you a dedicated, let's say high critical or high or critical either alert to you. How you can then analyze is you can literally see what is the timeline for me. So let's say you get an alert that a high risk notable is raised for myth.sha. You can see historically in last 7 days that how many similar attempts have been done, or at what time the risk scores were increased. So let's say I'll give you a deeper example. If you have three analysts looking over these three separate use case or the incidents, one may not have an idea that before 15 minutes there was also a malware detection in place for the same asset, or before 20 minutes there were multiple fail login for the same asset. But now with the risk analysis framework in place, you can literally see the risk score being increased as well. So once you get this alert and once you start the investigation, you can actually see last 1 hour or last 20 minutes worth of data and understand were there any other use cases which also triggered along with unapproved USB usage. And then you'd be able to correlate multiple use cases or multiple risk indicators over here. So that's the risk analysis framework. How we can configure that? There is something called as risk analysis framework as well available. That's something again we'll go through. This is more of an introductory session for ES. And last is adaptive response action, where you can have your ticketing tool in place where you can create ticket altogether, or you can have some scripts to do some automated work as soon as some incident is triggered. So let's say it supports actions like blocking an IP address or isolating a host altogether. Let's say there were 200, 300 failed login attempts found on the AD server itself, not from a particular user, but the server itself, your AD server. You may want to have some actions taken automatically in order to trigger, let's say, blocking the IP address altogether within few seconds. Even before your SOC analyst comes into the picture and checks something, you want to have some actions taken automatically. So adaptive response framework helps you defining those altogether. All right. Next up is data model, and same data model I would say is again heart of enterprise security, where anything and everything needs to go through or should be normalized for the data model, because most of the dashboards or the correlation searches are defined based on the data models. What it denotes now, what is a data model? Let's assume that you have events being ingested from Azure, AWS, and GCP, and you want to have a simple use case defined where if there are more than 10 field login attempts, you want to have an alert. Now, if you have separate sets of log, and if those individual logs would also have its own set of fields, so one may say that it's user action is equal to success or failed. Your Azure events may say that it was a successful versus failure, and your GCP events may say that the result was 1 or 0. Now the field as well as the field value both are different in different log sources. So one says action versus the other says results, but the essential meaning, the underlying meaning of that event is same. It's at the end, authentication related event. So what data model represents is Splunk has defined a specific set of data models, let's say network traffic, web, or intrusion detection or authentication, which helps to normalize the event. So does not matter from what log source you have the events being ingested from, you should have the events normalized in such a way that those data model fields are matched with your log source field. So does not matter you have action versus result. If the data model says that it should be action equal to success or failed, your values being successful or failure also needs to be normalized to success or failed, or your 1 and 0 as the field values also needs to be normalized as success and failed. How do you get those value or the additional information? You can just search for Splunk authentic data model, and you will see the set of fields, and in some cases predefined or the prescribed value as well over here. So if your data says result equal to 1 and 0, you need to have action equal to success in there. Now, instead of having three separate use cases for three different products, you can have is just one use case which has centralized or the normalized information available in the authentication data model. And based on the data model itself, you can have your use case defined. So you essentially don't have three scheduled jobs running. You only have one, which in trim have information for all of your products or events which are related to authentication. So this process, which I just explained, having the field name or the values being normalized, is what we call as SIM normalization. SIM stands for Common Information Model, where you are having your fields, does not matter your custom field or from your Splunk base downloaded add-on. You need to have that available in the normalized version. And that's where, if you observe Splunk base as well, if the add-on supports the normalization, or if the add-on itself have the extractions defined in a such a way that it supports the SIM extraction, you see that SIM compatible version is also mentioned on a bunch of add-ons. So it would say that SIM compatible add-on version equal to 4.0 or something. So it means that you don't have to even write down the custom extractions. The add-on is defined in such a way that it supports this many data models out of the box. Okay, so that's on the data model. And same sorry, this session may run 7 or 8 minutes longer, but I'll just go through some base practices and the what next session. Okay, first and foremost, if you are planning to set up the ES, make sure that your data is SIM compliant, because you don't want to write separate use cases or separate correlation searches from different product altogether in ES. So plan your data onboarding and ensure that SIM compliance for all the data sources are in place. Use the data model effectively, but also tune the data model extraction parameters based on the needs. So out of the box, ES is packed with all of the data model from Splunk add-on for common information model TA, which has definition for all of the data models, and the acceleration parameter for number of data models are by default, acceleration is enabled. So if you do not want, feel free to even disable the acceleration as well. So use the data model effectively, but you have to tune the acceleration parameters based on the need. Disabled unused or irrelevant correlation rules, because it will eat up your cron schedules. Or do you need to reduce your noise? As per the pirate formula, 20% of your use cases would generate 80% of the notable in most of the environment. So you have to concentrate on such use cases which are generating a lot of false positive in your environment, and make sure that your incident review dashboard is pretty clean, and the incident that ES triggers are, try to have it more accurate or more true positive incidents in place. Implement RBA to focus on high risk threats instead of just the notable. So again, I would say it's not RBA or notable. So if you're going with risk analysis framework, it's not that you have to stop using your notable framework or stop generating the events from notable altogether, but you have to go RBA and notable, where your normal incidents or normal notables are triggered, but there is also a risk analysis framework running in the back, which can trigger additional notables. Next up is periodically review and update your thread feeds. It's not something, 2 or 3 thread feeds are there and it's done. You may have to have some additional open source feed integrated with Splunk, or you can have your custom private IP address feed, or some file has information available. So periodically review and update your thread feeds as well, and use adaptive response to trigger the playbooks or some external integrations. You can start small, as simple as blocking an IP address, and then you can scale altogether. All right, so that's something on the ES. Next up, we'll have a session on June 20th, where I know this was a little fast, but the every framework particularly the assets and identity and notable. Those two frameworks are something we have planned to go into detail on June 20th, and followed by some additional deep dive sessions.
Great. Thanks, mate.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. So before we close, I just want to share my experience around this best practices Meet was talking about. So I remember when we started Splunk Enterprise Security. So somehow we have enabled all the data models in one go. Okay. So that is a very bad practice, you can say. So whenever we are going to enable any data model, so we have to be very careful, and we need to see what we want to do and what should be latest data, earliest data from where we want to fetch, and we have to summarize. So if you enable everything in a one go, it is going to kill your indexers as well. So you can see heavy load in your indexers as well. So while you are enabling any kind of data models or anything, so you have to be very careful. You have to choose and pick, and you have to define. Okay, hey, you want to uh, enable data model for authentication, and what all index you have to include, and what should be the summarization. Like, do you need all 30? It's like everything. For example, some index may contain data for 3 years. Some index may contain data for 10. You can say 10 months and all these things. So do you really require that summarization? So you have to decide that. So based on best practices, let's say you want to say, okay, hey, right now we just want to summarize data from current date till last 1 week, and you can enable the data model and all these things. So that's how you have to do these things. If you are going to go ahead with the default settings like -1 and all these things, it is going to kill
Let's
your
go. Yeah.
performance. So
Yeah.
yeah, so you
Yeah.
have to very careful on these enablement and all this part. That is one of the learning experience for me. So I have done that 5 years back. So we when I was enabling that in my enterprise, so we have faced that challenge. So that is one. And other experience I have around CIM. So that is very crucial part, common information model. So let's say we are getting data from multiple sources, and you have to enable the data model and all these things. Let's say we have feed A from where from feed A, my source is coming as like SRC, and from feed B, my source is coming like SRC underscore name, and from feed C, it is coming like SRC underscore IP. But they are selling same content, but they every application have different way to put the things, naming conventions, right? So how CIM works, if you are using Splunk add-on for Splunk add-on for B or Splunk add-on for C, so they are going to alias source SRC IP and SRC underscore name, whatever the CIM compliance field. So this is how we have to do. So CIM is very key. If your data is right, so you can do wonders. Okay. If your data is not right, so you are going to face challenges. So first, whenever we are doing anything, I'm not talking specifically into enterprise security, whether in enterprise security or Splunk enterprise or Splunk core, or whatever module we have to use. So data onboarding is very key part. So we have to be very careful when we are doing extraction piece, when we are doing data onboarding piece. Is that SIM compliant? Or am I getting all the fields as per CIM and all these things? So there is mapping available. If you go to Google and search for this CIM model and all these things, so you can see how we are doing mapping. Like our host is mapped to what field, IP is mapped to what field, source is mapped to source IP, or destination is mapped to test underscore something. So this is how you can also validate. I understand there's some it's like there's some solution where they don't follow CM and all these things. But when we are doing any kind of onboarding from those sources, so we have to make custom CIM and all these things. If you're getting 10 fields, so you can say, okay, hey, can you map these fields to CIM fields or not? So if that is not available and all these things. But as per my experience in last 5 years, things are very much evolved, and I can see most of the feeds which Splunk ingesting and we are supporting, so they are CIM
Same
compliant. So
compliant.
now that data onboarding and CIM compliant life is pretty sorted. But
Yep.
these are the two things I just want to share.
Yep.
Okay,
And
cool.
in one of the session, probably we'll go through that as well, the same validation process through SSM
Yes,
compliance
perfect.
add-on. So yeah, we'll cover up that as well.
Perfect. Anyone else? Else having question or you want to share anything?
Quick question on the assets and identity framework. So if we are going to onboard those lookups and everything, so you guys mentioned that it will enrich the log itself, right? It will give us more information as per what is already in the log, and it will give us either the username, IP, ID,
Yes,
everything. So, does these things will come in a general log itself, or it will only come in the incident review page?
both, both.
General log, I mean to say. Okay,
Yeah.
okay, okay,
So your Windows or firewall events, if you have just the IP address, it will also be enriched with the additional information. And in the incident as well, you will have the additional information available in separate dashboards.
okay. And there won't be any issue if I'm accessing the same thing on the ad hoc search head, right?
Ad hoc searchers, is it?
Like enterprise security is a individual search head itself, right?
Searcher. Yep.
So,
Yes. Yes.
so rest of yeah, okay,
So your ad hoc searcher will not have that information because those are the search time knowledge objects which ES is packed with. So your ad hoc searcher will not have information about the user or anything because your lookup itself are on a different searcher altogether.
okay. But the same if I search on ES, like normal ES, like a basic search, if they are there, I'll be having all that.
Yes, on if you're running a search on the ES search itself, you will have that enriched information available because everything works on the search time. But on the ad hoc search ad, those queues will not be available. So you will still see the events, but just the IP address, not additional information. Versus in ES, you will see additional events.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, awesome. Anyone else or anyone wants to share anything?
Can
Okay,
I also ask one more thing?
sure, please
I'm
go ahead.
So you guys mentioned about same compliance as well. So I was going through this phase as well, where we are required to map all the required fields as per the data model and as per SIM. So I have this data source as like CrowdStrike, and there is a source type which comes in its like sensor logs itself. I forgot the exact name, but it's like something like CrowdStrike sensor. It
FDR
is,
sensor.
and it has yeah, it has a TA. The TA itself also says that everything is SIM compliant, but there was one field which I do not see as a SIM compliant. So while modifying that prop, because they mentioned everything in the prop itself. So while updating that particular prop, I do not see any changes in my log. So do you think there is some issue with the order of precedence, or and I tried to make a field aliases as well, but it didn't help either. So what do you guys
Yeah.
like?
So it would depend where you have updated the configuration. If it is on the heavy forwarder on the or the indexers, which is before the ingestion, you would see your log event itself being updated. But if you are making the search time extractions, let's say for example you are creating a field alias, you should see that replicated or available within seconds. So if you're using Splunk Cloud or if you have larger environment, it may take like 30 seconds to 1 minute. And the permissions is of course one of the issue. So if you are searching from one app or if you have a private queue, the alias is just available to you. You may not have that field alias applicable over there, or even your data model will not be able to access that field alias. So
You have
maybe
to make
permission
your
issue.
field
There will be.
fields. You have to make your field available for all the applications. Okay, that is one thing you can do. Second thing, shouldn't be private. It should be the public, or you can say apps only kind of thing you can do. And if you still don't see, so maybe that's there is some aliasing issue and all these things. So you have to look into it. And if I remember correctly, if you are doing that search time field extraction, at that time you can see both old one and new one, right? Meet?
Yes,
Or
yes.
yeah, so you can
You'll
see
see
both.
both.
Yeah,
Yep, you'll see both.
yeah. But that's how you have
So,
to do.
yes, I have Splunk Cloud, and I was trying to update that eval thing in the source type itself. So it has done that modification. And I
These
tried
are yeah,
using it.
these are the possible things, and if you feel so we can connect later on the same
Yep.
if you
Yeah,
want
yeah,
More
to.
yeah.
often than not, more often than not, it would be either permission or you have checked the field areas within few seconds.
Yeah,
Splunk Cloud, I
yeah,
know it does take like a minute or two to even replicate
Yeah,
the field areas. So
yes.
if it is the caged search altogether, if you are just running after 10 seconds within the same window or the same tab, you may not see it. But if you duplicate or run it after 2 minutes or so, you'll be able to see the field areas.
Okay.
perfect. Okay.
Thank you.
Cool. I think we are good now. So if anyone have anything, so we can cover things in next sessions. So we are good to close the call. Thanks everyone for your time,
Awesome.
and
Thank
see
you.
you on next session. Thanks. Take care.
Awesome. Thank
Please
you.
share your feedback. If you have anything, you are going to get a feedback link. And if you want to suggest anything else, okay, this is how it should be done. And if you have better examples, feel free to reach out to us, so we will accommodate those things. And you can also present. It's not. It's a virtual session, so you can reach out to me, or there is a couple of other leaders, and we can connect and we can go ahead with that. Okay, that's it. Thanks everyone. Happy Friday. See you in
Thank
next
you.
session.
Have a good
Bye.
weekend.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.